The chill Chicago air, even in early spring, still held a bite that forced most people to pull their jackets tighter. I stood on my small apartment balcony, 25 years old, sipping lukewarm coffee, and watched the L train rumble past a few blocks away. The city's hum was a constant, a soundtrack to a life that felt, for the most part, settled. But every now and then, a memory, a snippet of a song, or a familiar face would pull me back to earlier versions of myself, to moments when life felt far less certain, and betrayal stung with a surprising, potent venom. I've always been someone who valued genuine connections, which probably made the sting of being used all the more acute. And sometimes, those stings festered, waiting for the perfect moment to be lanced. It started innocently enough, back in high school. My parents, bless their hearts, were incredibly laid back. As long as I kept my grades up and managed to drag myself out of bed for school the next morning, they pretty much let me do what I wanted. This freedom extended to concerts, which became a significant part of my social life. I was known as the girl who always had tickets, always knew when the next big show was coming to town. It was fun, exciting, and for a while I didn't notice the pattern. Then I did. It was subtle at first, a friend suddenly becoming extra friendly right before a concert announcement, or a casual acquaintance dropping hints about bands they loved, only to inquire about my ticket plans a few days later. I learned quickly to spot the opportunists, the ones whose smiles seemed a little too wide when they mentioned upcoming shows. I developed a sort of sixth sense for it, an invisible shield that deflected the casual, pre-concert flirtations. Taking someone as a date was different, though. That meant I genuinely liked them, that I thought there was something real beyond the music. And even though tickets were cheaper back then, $10, $15 a pop, adding gas money, parking fees, and a slice of pizza at the venue quickly added up. I couldn't afford to be a charity for a casual acquaintance looking for a free night out. Then came Julian. He was from a different high school on the other side of the city, and we'd met at a mutual friend's party. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in me, not just the fact that I knew about every concert coming to the United Center. We spent weeks talking on the phone, texting late into the night, even going out for movies and coffee. It felt different. Real. I started to really like him, maybe even a little more than I should have, considering it was high school. So when tickets for the big summer rock festival went on sale, featuring a band I knew he loved, I didn't hesitate. I bought two. I imagined us there, singing along, maybe even holding hands. It felt like the perfect next step. But then, slowly, a change began to ripple through our interactions. It wasn't anything he said outright, nothing I could pinpoint with certainty. It was just a feeling, a vague unease that settled in my gut like a cold knot. His texts started to shift, subtly focusing more on the concert details than on our conversations. His enthusiasm for the show seemed to eclipse his enthusiasm for me. Our calls would drift from our lives to asking about seating arrangements or what time I planned to get there. My intuition, honed by countless concert-seeker encounters, began to scream. He wasn't talking about us going to the concert, he was talking about the concert. It felt like I was being used again, but this time, it cut deeper because I actually cared. This wasn't just a random acquaintance, this was someone I thought could be more. The thought curdled in my stomach, turning my excitement for the festival into a bitter resentment. I tried to ignore it to tell myself I was overthinking, that he was just excited about the band. But the feeling persisted, a constant, nagging whisper in the back of my mind, he's using you. It was a low point for that brief budding relationship, realizing that my vulnerability had been mistaken for an opportunity. The stakes felt high, not financially, but emotionally. I felt foolish, a little naive, and terribly exposed. I decided he wasn't going to get away with it. The plan formed quickly, cold, and precise. I wanted him to feel just a fraction of the disappointment and frustration I felt. I waited. The days ticked by, agonizingly slowly. I continued to play along, talking about the festival as if everything was fine, letting him believe his plan was unfolding perfectly. I saw the glint in his eye, the way he'd casually mention the concert to his friends when I was around. It was like watching a spider spin its web, oblivious to the fact that its prey was already aware. Then came the day before the festival. I called him, my voice deceptively calm, almost cheerful. "Hey, Julian," I said, a smile playing on my lips though it didn't reach my eyes. "About tomorrow, I don't think I can make it." There was a beat of silence on the other end, a pause that spoke volumes. "What do you mean?" he finally stammered, his voice losing its usual smoothness. "The concert, but we have tickets." I let out a light, airy sigh. Yeah, I know, but something just came up. Family thing. Super last minute. I'm so sorry. I could practically hear his mind racing, trying to figure out if this was a ploy, if I was playing hard to get. I knew he wouldn't risk calling my bluff this close to the show. Oh, he said, the disappointment clear in his voice. Right, well, that's a shame. So what about the ticket? I chuckled softly. Oh, don't worry about it. I already gave it to my friend Chloe. She was really excited to go with me. I listened as the air seemed to drain from his end of the line. Oh, okay. Well, have fun, I guess. I didn't even bother to hide the small smirk on my face as I ended the call. He wouldn't have enough time to find another date, not one that would get him into the festival. And I, as planned, went to the festival with a different group of friends, singing every lyric, truly enjoying the music without the shadow of feeling used. Years later, well into my college days, a fresh wound was inflicted, far deeper than any high school slight. His name was Mark. We met in our sophomore year, fell head over heels for each other, or at least I thought we did. Our relationship was serious, the kind where you talked about future apartments and shared pets. We had a favorite bar, a dimly lit, slightly divey place near campus with cheap beer and a great jukebox. We spent countless nights there, laughing, studying, just existing together. It was our place. Then came the cold, hard slap of reality. I found out he was cheating on me. Not just a one-time mistake, but a sustained, deliberate betrayal with someone he worked with. The discovery wasn't dramatic. It was mundane, a text notification on his phone, a name I didn't recognize, a string of messages that made my blood run cold. My lowest point wasn't the confrontation, but the days and weeks after, the sheer, overwhelming pain of it, the feeling that everything I thought was real had been a lie. My world crumpled. I cried until my eyes were swollen shut. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The betrayal wasn't just about him and another person. It was about the shattering of my trust, the questioning of my own judgment. I avoided that bar, avoided mutual friends, avoided anything that reminded me of him. I tried to move on to heal, but a part of me felt permanently scarred, a quiet bitterness festering beneath the surface. I never got a proper apology, never truly got closure. He just faded away, leaving a gaping wound behind. Life, as it always does, continued to churn forward. I graduated, moved to Chicago, built a new life for myself. The raw edges of the pain eventually smoothed, but the scar remained. The desire for a measure of justice, a moment of him feeling even a fraction of what I had felt, lingered, dormant but never fully extinguished. Fast forward a few years. I was 25, firmly settled in Chicago, and the bar we'd frequented in college, the one I'd avoided for so long, had become a distant memory. I was out with a few friends at a popular pub in Lincoln Park, a casual Friday night, not looking for anything specific, just unwinding. The place was lively, music playing, conversations buzzing. I was leaning against the bar, nursing a seltzer with lime. I'm not much of a drinker these days, when a guy named Daniel struck up a conversation. He was funny, easy to talk to, and we were just chatting about our weeks, nothing more. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the din. Sam? Samantha, is that you? I turned, and my stomach dropped. Standing a few feet away, her eyes wide with recognition, was Chloe. Not Julian's Chloe, but Mark's best friend from college. And just behind her, seated at a high-top table, was Mark himself. My heart gave a strange lurch. He looked different. He'd clearly put on a good 20, maybe 30 pounds, and his face was red, his eyes a little unfocused. He looked, to put it mildly, sloshed. Chloe, completely oblivious to my internal turmoil, beamed. Oh my gosh, it is you. Mark and I are just over here. You have to come say hi. She practically dragged me by the arm, leaving a slightly bewildered Daniel in my wake. He just gave me a curious look and a shrug, sensing the sudden shift in atmosphere. As I approached their table, Chloe practically pushed me into a seat opposite Mark. He peered at me through bleary eyes, a slow, predatory grin spreading across his face. Samantha, he slurred, leaning forward, the smell of stale beer washing over me. Long time no see, huh? You look good. The audacity of him, after all these years, to try and charm me while completely intoxicated, hit me with a jolt of pure adrenaline. His friend Chloe was oblivious, just smiling, happy for the apparent reunion. Mark tried to reach across the table, his hand clumsy. You know, I always regretted how things ended between us, Sam. I missed you. And then it hit me. An idea so sudden and so perfect, it was like a lightning bolt to my brain. It was unplanned, spontaneous, a gift from the universe. The lingering bitterness, the unresolved pain from years ago, coalesced into a single, brilliant moment of opportunity. I leaned forward, a wide, genuine smile spreading across my face. My eyes, I knew, were sparkling with mischief. Mark, I practically chirped, my voice ringing with feigned delight, cutting him off mid-sentence. Oh my goodness, I have to tell you. I paused for dramatic effect, then leaned in conspiratorially as if sharing a wonderful secret. Congratulations, you're pregnant. The effect was instantaneous and glorious. Mark froze, his eyes, previously unfocused, suddenly snapping wide open. The color drained from his already flushed face, leaving him pale and stunned. His jaw dropped, quite literally, hanging open in a silent gasp. Chloe, sitting next to him, looked utterly bewildered. Pregnant? She echoed, glancing between me and Mark. I pressed on, my smile unwavering, my voice overflowing with false cheer. Yes, I mean you've gained a bit of weight and you're just glowing. I figured it out right away. Is it a boy or a girl? Have you picked out names yet? Oh, this is just wonderful news, Mark finally managed to sputter. What are you talking about, Samantha? I'm not, I cut him off again, shaking my head with mock pity. Oh, you don't have to be shy, Mark. It's such an exciting time. When's the due date? Are you going to have a baby shower? I can help with the decorations. Chloe, catching on to the absurdity, stifled a giggle, but Mark was beyond mortified. He was fuming, his face now a furious shade of crimson, his eyes darting around the crowded pub, probably wondering if anyone else had heard my outrageous pronouncement. He couldn't possibly deny it without looking even more ridiculous, given his current state and appearance. He just sat there, mouth agape, utterly speechless, his attempt at flirting completely derailed, replaced by pure, unadulterated horror. I savored the moment, letting the silence stretch for just a beat longer. Then, with a bright, innocent smile, I stood up. Well, I just had to say congratulations. Truly the best news. I patted Mark's shoulder lightly, a gesture of faux camaraderie. It was good to see you, Mark. You too, Chloe. I gave them a little wave and then, with a spring in my step, walked back towards Daniel, who was now watching the scene with an amused expression. He raised an eyebrow. Everything all right? He asked. I just winked. Never better. The next day, a mutual friend from college texted me. Okay, what did you do to Mark last night? He was absolutely livid after you left. Chloe said you told him he was pregnant. I burst out laughing. Oh, did I? I typed back, feigning innocence. I just thought he looked so happy and a little bigger, you know? I just assumed I was just being nice. My friend laughed. He's apparently telling everyone you're completely unhinged. I just smiled. It was the perfect revenge. I had plausible deniability. Who assumes someone is pregnant unless they actually look pregnant? And yet, I knew precisely the chaos and humiliation I had unleashed. He had cheated, broken my trust, and years later, I had delivered a perfectly timed, utterly public, and completely unforgettable blow to his ego. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Mark had been absolutely furious, screaming at Chloe for inviting me over, complaining about my psychotic behavior. He probably stewed for days, wondering how many people I had told, how many people now thought he was some kind of freak. It was a satisfaction that ran deeper than I expected, a feeling of finally reclaiming a piece of myself that had been wounded. The bitterness didn't vanish entirely, but a significant chunk of it was replaced by a sense of quiet triumph. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't a grand, complicated plot, but a swift, perfectly aimed jab that hits exactly where it hurts, leaving the target reeling, and you, the one who delivered it, with a long overdue sense of peace.